I'll be solving the USACO 2018 December Contest Bronze Division Problem 3 back and forth. So you can go ahead and pause the video to read through the problem. So Farmer John has 2 milking barns, and they both start with 1,000 gallons of milk on Monday. Starting from Tuesday, he alternates moving the buckets. So he takes a bucket from the first barn to the second barn, and on the next day he takes it from the second barn to the first barn and repeats that process on Thursday and Friday. Then Farmer John measures the milk in the tank of the first barn, and he wants to find how many possible different readings he can see. So the first line of input will have the size of the buckets in the first barn, and the second line of input will have the size of the buckets in the second barn. So all the inputs will have 10 integers, so there will be 10 buckets in each barn, but I will explain this problem using a smaller size. So we can say that the first barn is called barn A and the second barn is called barn B. And the size of the buckets in barn A are 1 and 2, and in B it's 3 and 4. So on Tuesday, a bucket from barn A goes to barn B, and on Wednesday, a bucket from barn B goes to barn A. So a combination that can happen is that bucket 1 goes to barn B on the first day, and bucket 3 goes to barn A. So these two will have swapped. So we can write that combination down. Another thing that can happen is that 2 and 4 can swap. We can also, another combination is that 1 can go to the second barn and 4 can go to the first barn, so diagonally. And it can also happen in the other direction. Okay. So each barn starts with 1,000. And we want to find what's in barn A. So we know that it starts with 1,000. And this one, we swapped 1 and 3. So when bucket of size 1 left to barn 2 or barn B, you can subtract 1 from the total amount of gallons. But then the bucket size 3 from barn B went to barn A, so it was added to barn A, so you can add 3. And you'll get 1,002. So you can do this with the other ones. So these two swaps, so we start with 1,000 gallons, and we subtract 2 because it left to barn B, and then we add 4 because it came to barn A, and that adds up to 1,002. This one we swap these two, so we start with 1,000 and you lose 1 and add 4, which equals 1,003. And this one, we swap these two, so you start with 1,000, you lose 2, and you add 3. So in total, you get 1,001. So we can see the different readings we have here are 1,002, 1,003, and 1,001. So our answer, if we had this input, would be 3. So we can start writing our code. So I put my input in a file called backforth and my output in a file called backforth.out. So I know that for this problem, I'm going to use an array for each barn. So for barn A and for barn B. And I want to make sure that after every different combination I try, I always start the next one with the original buckets in each barn. So I'm going to create a second array for each barn in capital letters. And we'll initialize each of these. So A equals new int. And we know that it says in the problem that every integer line every barn is going to have 10 integers. So we know that it's automatically 10. And we'll use a for loop to add the numbers to the array. So we'll use string tokenizer to read the line and add each value to the array. And we do the same thing for B. So I'll just copy and paste and make sure to change the array to B. I'll also initialize the capital arrays. And we want them to have the same thing as what we just put, so we can just clone these. And we want to create an integer that has the number of milk. So we know that we start with 1,000 gallons of milk. And we're going to simulate Tuesday and Wednesday first with two for loops. So I is going to be the Wednesdays, or the Tuesdays actually. And the for loop on the inside is for Wednesdays. So we know that milk, actually we need 2 milks, one for Tuesday and Wednesday, and then one for Thursday and Friday. So milk 1 will equal milk 1 minus the value in the first barn bucket, and you add the second barn bucket. And we want to physically swap the values in these arrays to make sure that we are swapping them. So we'll create a temporary variable and swap these values. And then we'll create a new 2 more for loops to simulate Thursday and Friday using different integers. So this time, milk 2 equals the initial loss of milk that we already have. It doesn't start from 1,000, it starts from the milk that we've already changed. So it'll be milk 1, and we subtract what's in barn A on Thursday and we add what's in barn B on Friday. And then we can create a hash set to store this value because we want to make sure that we want to find the different readings. So we only need to store one of each of the same readings. So if we do that, then we can set answer dot add and add the milk value that we have. After that, after this for loop, we want to make sure we reset the buckets in barn A and barn B. So this is where the capital barn A and barn B come in. So barn A would equal capital A dot clone, barn B equals capital B dot clone. And after this for loop, we can print out our hash set, but instead of the values, we want the size because we want the number of different readings. We can print this out. And instead of putting milk 1 here, we need to make sure that it resets to 1,000 every time we reset the barns. So we can set it to 1,000, and we don't need this. So we can run this, and it should be 5. And so you can submit that file. You can submit the solution. Oh yeah, and we have to make sure to change it to output into the file instead of standard input. So we delete the system, save it, and we can try submitting again. And we can see that all the cases are correct.